All right, what's up, everybody? How are we doing? Welcome to the Ectoplasm Show. My name is Josh Hurd. Joining me is my good pal, partner in crime, the good doctor himself, Mr. Jason Kupzyk. What is cracking, kind sir?
Well, I got my video going.
And you look damn good, by the way. You look
but
good.
it's there's some dark areas like up there, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also farther away. You're a lot closer to the camera. But I got like this void of the back, so I might put some stickers up here, something.
Oh, there you go. You know what you need back there, right on that little spot there that you just pointed to.
This right here.
Yeah, that right there. You need a giant Podbelly sticker. That's what you need.
I don't have any of those left. I'll have to get some more of them.
We're gonna have to get some more Podbelly stickers.
I have plenty of Ecto stickers.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And for those of you watching at home, listening at home, or whatever the case may be, cruise over to podbelly.com. They are our sponsor and our network of shows. If you cruise over to podbelly.com, you can also check out some of our favorite shows. Do It Doug is a good one. Paranormal Punchers is another good one. Hillbilly Horror Stories I enjoy as well. But even what's the other one that I'm thinking of? Nerds on Topic. It's a good one as well. But cruise over to podbelly.com. It is a great one-stop shop for all sorts of fun podcasts. And they even have this really cool learn section where if you're just wanting to get into podcasting or any of that fun stuff, you can check it out. It's right there. Ooh.
For our video viewers.
For the people watching, yes. There it is.
We're founding members of this network. Oh, we're not on the homepage anymore. We got to get back on there. But we are founding network members here.
Stuff. It is good stuff. Good
there,
people.
Ecto.
There it is.
And there's hundreds of other ones listed that aren't part of the network. So if you're looking for any podcast, you just go to the directory and check out a bunch of shows. I don't. There are probably hundreds of them listed here.
Yeah. Now, guys, we're doing things a little different tonight. We there's some weird stuff that's been going on. In my neck of the woods here. So I live in Southwest Iowa. And I mean, quite literally, like less than 10 minutes away from me, there is some weird stuff. It's been hitting the headlines.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna read this headline. It's from the New York Post, actually, and this is one of the better articles I found on the subject. So I'm just gonna read this headline real quick. It says, quote, "I know where the bodies are buried," unquote. Iowa woman claims dad was a ruthless serial killer who killed nearly 70 women. Now, that is an outrageous claim.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about serial killers and what we know of serial killers and all of that stuff, right? And I mean, how big was the body count? Not to sound crass.
Dahmer's the big one right now because he has the show, which is pretty good actually.
My daughter's been watching it. She's totally into it. But yeah, she's been watching the heck out of it. Digging it. So
Numbers. Let's see.
I don't know, man, but like think about this. Like 70?
Jeffrey Dahmer was convicted of 15 of 16 murders.
That's a lot. Like that's a lot. 5 is a lot.
I think Gacy is in the 30s. Gacy's 33.
It's absolutely ludicrous. Like crazy to me. So what we kind of want to do here is, since this is kind of like happening literally in my backyard, and apparently has been for decades, we want to kind of dive into.
Well, yeah, so 70 for 5 or 6 per year for decades,
which that's crazy.
It couldn't. So 70 is a lot for sure. The math, she said she was a kid during that time. So the math doesn't completely pan out because that would be 13 years. So technically, yes, it'd be more than 1 decade. But the way that she mentioned it, or the way that I read it, it was over multiple decades. But of course, if she's just a kid carrying bodies around, at some point she would have become an adult, though, if it was over multiple decades.
Yes. And what's most disturbing about this, right? The gentleman in question here is a gentleman that goes by the name of Donald Dean Studey.
We do have to say, we should say at the very beginning here, we are going off of what
100%
published newspaper articles are saying.
Correct.
Not anything we might say is just speculation off of those.
Exactly. Like we have to stress that as much as we possibly can. We're going to read the articles. We're going to pick apart the articles. We may speculate here and there, but again, nothing that we're going to say other than the news articles is anything other than what's been presented.
So before we get into a quick little thing, most proven victims from a serial killer in the United States was Samuel Little.
Oh, yes.
Killed 60 people.
See, that's a lot.
Potential of 93.
See, I thought he confessed to 90 something. Yeah, or something like that. But
somebody out of South America has been proven to have killed 193 people.
Jesus.
But yeah, so most in the United States is 60. So if this guy gets proven to have killed 70 people, he will be the top serial killer in the United States.
And that's just it. It's one of the most prolific serial killers, potentially one of the most prolific serial killers, which is crazy to me. Because again, the majority of people that I'm about to name in this article, I know, I've met. It's very odd for me. Okay. This is from the New York Post.
All right.
A probe is underway in Iowa after a woman claimed that her late father was a ruthless serial killer who murdered dozens of women before his death about 10 years ago. Lucy Studey said her father, Donald Dean Studey, killed a shocking 50 to 70 women over 30 years, according to Newsweek. She also stunningly claimed he enlisted her and her sibling to help him move the bodies of young women that were allegedly buried near a well on his property. And again, here's Lucy's quote, "I know where the bodies are buried." And that's what she told Newsweek. She also says he would just tell us we had to go to the well, and I knew what that meant. Studey also reportedly said. She says, quote, "Every time I went to the well or into the hills, I didn't think I was coming down. I thought he would kill me because I wouldn't keep my mouth shut." And now where the fun stuff begins. Fremont County Sheriff Kevin Astrop told the Des Moines Register 2 cadaver dogs sniffed around the site and got hits that could indicate the existence of decomposing bodies in the area. A quote here, I believe this is from Kevin Astrop. He says, "She's got a hell of a story, but we don't have any proof of anything other than we had a cadaver dog hit." Astrop told the Register, "We've got to have more proof than that." I would totally agree with Mr. Astrop on this, Sheriff Astrop. But he acknowledged that the hits from the dogs lend credibility to the daughter's assertion, and authorities would get a game plan here together with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, according to the newspaper. Sheriff's deputies, now this is also interesting too. Sheriff's deputies began looking into Studey's story in 2021, so last year, but needed to locate the well and get the okay from the current owners of the property and neighboring properties to conduct searches, Astrop said, according to the newspaper. Donald Studey is suspected by law enforcement of luring women who were mostly sex workers or transients from nearby Omaha, Nebraska, bringing them to his 5-acre farmland before killing them, according to Newsweek. Studey told the publication her angry and regularly drunk dad would typically smash or kick the heads of his victims inside a trailer where the family lived. And then the father reportedly died at the age of 75 in 2013. Again, interesting story. Interesting still are then some of the comments that are on this article.
Yeah.
And I read through some of them. And you know what? Like, I'm going to grab my laptop real quick, so bear with me, please.
Okay. So I looked into a little bit about the process of finding missing people in Nebraska.
Yes.
And it says that around 3,000 people are reported missing in Nebraska every year. Some return that same day. There are few who have been missing since the 70s. It doesn't mean that they were reported, of course. I did do a search, and most of the missing people aren't past the year 2005 or older. There's only like a small handful of them past the 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Farther back than 2005, I mean.
Now, I want to make this perfectly clear, okay? There are 2 daughters. There is Lucy, who is the one that is making these claims, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's also another daughter. Her name is Susan or Suzanne or whatever, however you would pronounce that. She says this is completely false. Susan or Suzanne Studey said the only time she remembers her father getting violent was when a neighbor ran over their dog, and then Donald Studey fought the man. Now, there's another comment on here. Okay. So we have one of his daughters that is saying.
So that's a comment from Susan on there.
No.
Okay. So that's not a comment on there.
This was a different comment on a different article.
Okay.
However, it is. Let me see.
What I mean is, if it's just a comment on an article, how do we know that that's actually Suzanne?
No. No, this was not her speaking. This was a quote from her from this article. They had reached out and got in contact with Susan. Yes.
Okay. I did see that in another article. I just wasn't sure what you meant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, then we do have a comment. So again, unverified, but a comment nonetheless from a Denise Martinez. Denise Martinez says this. This is my uncle. I 100% believe he would do this. He terrified me as a child. I always felt sorry for my cousins having just him to take care of them. Now I'll get to that in a moment. My mom always told me her brother was a murderer. I think he killed both of his wives and made it look like suicide because, and this is what I wanted to tell you, he had 2 wives. Both of them died by suicide, or so the reporting would say. Now, he also had a son who would be Susan and Lucy's brother, who passed away by suicide. He was 39 years old when he died. But anyway, back to this quote here with from Denise. I think he killed both of his wives and made it look like suicide. He was also an arsonist. He was a truly evil man. I feel badly for my cousins having to deal with this, more so because Lucy tried multiple times to get help and was dismissed. If people would have listened, he could have been held accountable for his actions before his death. Now, that's what's another thing that's interesting about this. Supposedly, Lucy, when she was younger, had reached out to a few different teachers and even a priest asking for help and things like that. And she was basically supposedly told, that maybe family secrets are best left secrets.
Wow.
If that's true, that's extraordinarily damning.
So in
And this
in
wasn't.
the sorry.
No, it's fine. Like it's weird for me to like read a New York Post article and see photographs of people I know. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah.
It's very odd. It's all just like still sinking in here.
And when
But
you
this is
first
interesting.
messaged me about this, I just went to Google and typed in serial killer in Fremont. The first article to pop up was a local article, and there's a quote in here from the sheriff that says it's been a rumor around here for years.
For years. And that's just it. Is my grandfather was even on like the fire department, right? And things like that. And he specifically remembers getting a call because something was on fire and it had to be on this, it was on this gentleman's property. And they obviously go to this property, and there's this guy with this structure behind him. It was like a barn or something on fire. And he's standing there with a gun, with a shotgun, and he's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" You know what I mean? And he's yelling at like the firefighters, saying, "No, I don't want your help. Get the fuck out of here."
Huh.
I'm like, "What?" Like it's just, I don't know.
I mean, I get being private and not wanting interference if you have it under control. Technically, a fire department doesn't have to come on your property. I can get that, but I mean, we're also talking in the context now of all this other stuff added to it.
Yeah. I mean, oh boy. So it is interesting. Just this isn't the first time. Like, she has reached out to the police numerous times, and they didn't take her seriously. To be fair, they didn't take her seriously and until last year. So, and that's another thing that's interesting about this, right? This investigation, this isn't new. This has been going on now for over a year, that since she's made these allegations for the last time to the police officers. How the news and everything got out, like, I have no idea like how that happened. But interesting.
New person in the city there or something. I wonder where Lucy lives. Like, did she tell somebody else outside of that county?
I mean, possibly. It's very possible.
This article from ABC7 out of Chicago says that the FBI is now involved out of the Omaha office.
Correct. So the FBI is now, they are involved, and they want to get to the bottom of this. I mean, everybody wants to get to the bottom of this. Like, I don't even know how to feel about this. It's like you hope and pray that it's not true. But then at the same time, it's like, if this is true, like what are the implications here? What's going to happen here? Like, I don't know, man. But we're talking about a legitimate serial killer, potentially a legitimate serial killer in fucking, like, in Nowheresville, Southwest Iowa. Nobody's heard of this town. Nobody's heard of, Thurman, Iowa. Nobody knows. Like, you drive by it on the interstate. You drive by it on the interstate.
Drive by it on the interstate.
That's it.
That's where I saw that tornado that one time.
Yeah, dude. That's I remember that too. But yes, so more kind of here to your point. At least one agent from the Omaha field office of the FBI is in direct communication with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, DCI, and of course the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, which has overseen investigations so far. All will be meeting together as early as next week to discuss steps in investigating the allegations by Studey, who is now 53 years old, against her father. And again, he passed away in 2013 at the age of 75. We're in a holding pattern until everyone gets together, is a quote from Fremont County Sheriff Kevin Astrop. Just absolutely crazy stuff, my friend. So in this right here is another thing that's just I'm trying to find Suzanne Studey. Here we are. So more on Suzanne real quick, okay? Because again, she's a sister that is saying that this is not the case, right? And I kind of wanted to read this. I found some more quotes here from her. She says, quote, "The first time I ever heard about the bodies was when I talked to Lucy about a year ago," is what Suzanne Studey said. "My father was not the man she makes him out to be. He was strict, but he was a protective parent who loved his children. Strict fathers don't just turn into serial killers. I'm 2 years older than Lucy. I think I would know if my father murdered. I wouldn't know if my dad was I would know if my dad was a serial killer. He was not. And I want my father's name restored." Now, kind of more here then. Lucy Studey has repeatedly offered to take a lie detector test and has given authorities at least two recorded statements, one to the FBI and the other to the sheriff's office. Suzanne Studey said the only time she remembers her father getting violent, again, was when a neighbor ran over the dog. So, yeah. But yes, it does say here, next steps in the investigation could include further searches by cadaver dogs of the area spread over 2 properties, totaling about 10 acres, and mapping the site with the locations where Lucy Studey believes up to 70 bodies are buried, many of them in a 100-foot well. Steps could also eventually include boring into the well, and if remains are found, excavating it, which would be quite the undertaking. The local source said the search could start with investigating suspected shallow graves, which the dogs scented in 4 locations with multiple hits in one of the locations. I want you to understand also the fact that cadaver dogs, as they're called, like, they're specifically trained they're not going to hit on animal bones. They don't do that. Now,
well, yeah, they're used to as a potential, but they're not used as. It even says here in the article, it says the ads that cadaver dogs are not always reliable as a sole source. Therefore, law enforcement will lean on other investigative measures before considering breaking ground.
Yeah. Lucy Studey said she first started telling people about where she accuses her father of doing, about what she accuses her father of doing when she was in 2nd or 3rd grade, telling her story to teachers, principals, and priests. She said some advised it was better for family secrets to remain within the family. She said over the years she would call law enforcement in Iowa and in Nebraska, but her stories were mostly dismissed as the imaginings of a young child. She was a preteen then. Officials have never explained why investigations were not carried out. Now, Astrop did say that about 10 years ago, Lucy Studey had called the sheriff's office to report her allegations, and a deputy went to look for the well. The deputy was unable to find it. Then Fremont County Sheriff's Deputy Mike Wake got the call early last year, and that was when investigators started taking Lucy Studey's claims seriously. Like, again, like, this is so frickin' nuts to me. Like, I know the Wake family.
Yeah.
Very, very well. I mean, we all live on the same street, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, this is all super fresh, at least as far as it's publicly out there, right? So this is all
knowledge for sure, public knowledge. It says,
but I mean,
Wake,
as far as we're just gonna have to wait for more information and potentially dig on people that you might know.
Yeah.
For more information, but
I mean, this is definitely
This
going
could
to
bear
be,
out either way, honestly.
yeah, for sure. And I think this is going to be one of those things where I mean, this isn't going to be the last time that you hear from us on this subject. I know that for a fact. Like, we're going to be able to follow this, and again, like, it kind of hits close to home. And
Well, yeah,
so,
we're thinking potential projects with this
yeah,
if it
absolutely,
if it keeps go like. But so what my point was going to be that if this really is what the Fremont County or Sheriff's Department has said it was in the past, just someone that didn't have any basis for her story. If
yeah,
that's the case, now that there's national news on it, it's going to come out one way or the other that either she was that way or there was like small town, small county Iowa will probably not be able to hide the fact that they didn't help this girl if that's the
right.
case of what happened
And
now
I'm
that
telling
there's
you,
outside
so
investigators.
I mean, and you think about that, like, there would be the potential here if she is, again, if she is correct, and I'm not saying she is or isn't or anything. If she is correct and this turns out to be true, and she really was making phone calls to the sheriff's department as far back as 10 years ago, maybe more, like, there's going to be a lot of questions. Now,
Well, it
I
would
know
be
for a
more than
fact
10 years
because,
ago because
well,
if this happened when she was a teenager
well, no,
or
I'm just saying
preteen.
I'm just saying what Sheriff Astrop said was that about 10 years ago she had called,
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah.
and to report. And I also know for a fact that 10 years ago, Kevin Astrop was still the sheriff. Like, he just, you know what I mean? He wins election after election after election. He's well liked in the county. And he's a good dude. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know him quite well. Um, he's a good guy. Um, gosh dang. See, and this was all right. So here, I'm gonna read this portion as well, okay? Because why Wake, Officer Wake, who is the former police chief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why he took her seriously. So he became more interested when Lucy Studey was able to pinpoint the well, which now sits on land that has been heavily altered by bulldozing and logging and things like that. Like, the area doesn't even remotely look the same as it did, yet she was able to go, it's right there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
interesting.
obviously she knew where the well was. It is interesting, but to me, it doesn't say proof either way. One, so it's
Certainly not
I
proof,
don't know
right?
this for a fact, but I would think you would have a very hard time getting 70 bodies down a 100-foot well. So, and she doesn't state that they were all put in the well, right?
No, that's
She said
true.
that many of them were buried. And if it's been heavily altered, why weren't the bodies found then?
Well, I mean, it's been heavily altered because they filled in the well and then started to bulldoze and log and all that stuff. So I don't know who was in charge of all that. So maybe one, it was just lucky or
Yeah.
whatever that they wouldn't uncover something, but I don't know, man. Like, it's super weird. Like, again, if this is true, I mean, think of how easily this could have just been lost to time.
Well, sure. No, I mean, it
And
could
that's
be
what's
either
weird.
way.
So, like, and I
So
guess
with the other daughter, Suzanne,
yes.
what did she say? Didn't she say, I'm trying to recall, that she doesn't remember a well being there?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I didn't read
Oh, okay.
that
I thought that
portion.
was something you said on there.
Oh, no. No, I don't remember that.
But Lucy states in an article that I read that the other siblings were involved in moving the bodies as well. And they moved them
yes.
with wheelbarrows.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah, you sent that over to me earlier.
just out of speculation, not to accuse anybody of anything. If this happened over decades,
right.
yeah, sure, she wouldn't be culpable of when she's a child, and especially if she tried to help it. But at what stage does she have some culpability? Only if she's an adult, or is it 16, or is it like she may not even like she didn't say at all that she had anything to do with the murder. She just helped with the bodies, right?
Correct.
But that in itself is technically a crime. And yeah, as a kid, you might not be able to help that. But if it happened past the time of young adulthood, or like 15, 16, unless you're scared for your life, obviously.
Here's what I would suggest, that if it started when she was in 2nd or 3rd grade, right, which is what she's claiming.
Well, she's not moving any bodies then. She might be with him when it...
Right. I mean, she's like 8 years old, right? She's like 7 or 8 years old. Like, that's crazy. So, but you think about that. And then you think about what, even seeing your father kill somebody, even looking at a dead body at 7 or 8, what that would do to somebody mentally, right?
Yeah.
And now let's put decades onto that, and let's put 70 bodies on top of that. I would almost say that she would not be liable in any way, shape, or form. Whether you think she is an accessory or not, I would almost say that the mental trauma alone would wipe that off.
But that would also make the person not want to say anything because you're also you're questioning whether or not you could be held responsible in any way, or should you have done more, or this is not in anything that I think is actually happened, but my mind goes straight to, she killed one of them just for fun in between there. She knows she could get away with it because her dad killed all the rest of them. But that's there's nothing. That's just where my mind goes.
No, that's true though. She's like, "Hey, Dad, can I try one?"
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, man,
nobody will ever believe that I was the mastermind behind it 8 years old.
But it's such a bizarre story. And I guess when I read a story like this or hear a story like this, I don't like, my mind is weird. I'm wired differently, I guess, but I put myself into the story.
Sure.
I put myself as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old.
You said you've met this guy, so you were in the story.
No, I wasn't in the story. But
no, you were in the story. You were a side character that he just walked by one day and talked to. You weren't. You were like the uncredited cast.
I can't even remember what was happening in the conversation. Like, I don't remember.
Sure.
But oh my God. Like, I was in high school. Like, I had to be in high school. But yeah, that was the only time I remember like speaking with this gentleman, talking to this guy.
Now, you said that road in that area is not a very is it a pretty, what would you say, sketchy place to be?
Yeah, it's sketchy as hell. So look, like, there is some weird shit because, and there's always been stories, right? There's always been stories like, you never go down this road at night, and you never go down that road, especially if you have out-of-state tags, right? Out-of-state plates. Like, just don't even do it.
And that was just like a high school kind of spooky thing to talk about, or what? Or is this something that like anybody like your parents would talk about, or grandparents would talk about?
This,
like, so that area is don't go there.
My grandfather is in his 80s, and my grandfather would tell you the same stuff, and my dad would tell you the same stuff, and me and my brother would tell you the same stuff. It's just one of those things that it's just like, you just don't go there.
Oh, it's just one of those things.
Do it. Because there are people out there that like privacy. They live off the land. They don't necessarily, they'll come into town, they'll get the whatever, the groceries and stuff like that. Sure, of course. But at the same time, they enjoy their privacy. They enjoy the peace and quiet. They don't want to hear the bull crap. Right. And I mean, that's it. They work the land and they live off the land. That's how they make their living, is, farming and logging and all sorts of stuff like that. God, it's just, it's so weird. It still hasn't even hit me yet. Like, to be honest with you,
this person, according to the story, didn't take his kills from that area.
No, absolutely not. No.
So if that urban legend, so to speak, didn't originate from him,
but that's just it. Is what else is going on out there, right? And it's it makes me a little nervous for certain things, and it's just like it's weird, man. Like, even me doing this show right now, it's like I don't want to get a knock on my door.
Well, I mean, where you live,
everybody knows who I am.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what I do. Everybody knows everybody in my area. That's just it. And we not only know them, we know your mom, we know your dad, we know your brothers and sisters and your siblings, and we also know your children. Everybody's in everybody's business 1000% of the time. And it's weird. But I mean, so again, am I going to get a knock on the door? I mean,
grab your camera if that happens.
Trust me. Listen, you would laugh at how much stuff I have ready to roll.
Yeah,
literally. Yes, absolutely. 100% ready to roll. Because it's goddamn terrifying. But yeah. Oh my God, man. Honestly, though, I reach out to you and I say, hey, man, apparently there's a serial killer in the area, right? You take to the interwebs and you type in on the Google search machine here, and then bam. What are your thoughts? You read an article or two or three and then process. What are your thoughts on this?
I want to find out.
I know, me too. But
I've kind of gone over a little bit of what I think at the current time. Either this person is telling a story for attention and has been for a very long time, like the cry wolf kind of thing.
Yes.
Or there was ineptitude or cover up from the county.
Possibly. I mean,
or
at the
it's
very
also
least,
so she says she talked to all these people. The only record that actually we have seen is that the sheriff's department saying a year ago now she called.
Yeah, and the first time that she contacted them, at least under Kevin Astrup's watch, was 10 years ago.
Okay, 10 years ago. Okay.
Yep, 10 years ago was the first, and they're like, that
would have been right before he died.
I think so. Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, because I mean, if he died in 2013, I mean, yeah. It's right. Like he would have been still alive. It makes me wonder, like, so many different things, right? It's like with Lucy specifically. What was her relationship like with her father after high school? What was her relationship like now? Like, she's in her 50s now. She would have been in her 40s. She would have been our age when she made that first phone call 10 years ago, a decade ago. She would have been our age, right?
Yes.
Like, what was her relationship like with her father then? Is this something that was just eating at her for decades until somebody finally listened to her? Or is it the exact opposite? Has she been just spewing a lie for decades? But then why?
Ectoplasm show on the case.
It's right. That's right. Ectoplasm show investigates. Here we are. But seriously, man, now this story again, it's on Newsweek, New York Post, it's CNN, Fox News, it's all over the place. And it's now starting to gain steam. This has a lot of eyeballs on it, and people want to know. People are going to be watching this quite.
Does he have a name yet? Like, like the Night Stalker or the. It's like, do we need to coin that name?
I don't know.
Like, what is it? What road?
Green Hollow.
Green Hollow Killer.
The Green Hollow Killer.
That's perfect. That's a great name.
It's like. Like, I think about how many times I've been on Green Hollow Road just growing up or hunting or whatever. And it's like the only reason that I was on that road or in those properties is because we know these people and we have permission to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a verbal conversation face to face and a handshake. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. That's how you get onto these farm ponds and go fishing and things like that. I mean, it's all this fun stuff that we do or did back when we were growing up. I really don't have time to do any of that shit anymore.
Sure, yeah.
But still, it's crazy to me that this is happening. And like I said, a lot of eyeballs are on this. They want to see what's going on, and we want to know what's going on. But again, it's also very important that we don't run away with this. We don't speculate with this.
We did a little bit. We need to make sure that people understand the speculation.
Absolutely.
We don't want this family coming after us.
No, absolutely not. Certainly not. Like the one thing that I want to do is I want to present fact as it comes in. That's what I want to do. And whether that means we do another hour-long episode on this or a 10-minute episode on this, but as it comes in, we report
I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to depend on the additional news as to what this potentially turns into.
Yeah.
And what you can use as far as your contacts if this turns into more as to what we do with it.
It's going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations, but important conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know. I don't know, man. It's just weird.
This could turn into a big project for Ectoplasm show.
Very well.
We may do it under a different title. We're not sure. We've talked about different things. We want to do this with this. And yeah, it's not necessarily paranormal, but it is true crime. And you never know what kind of paranormal nuggets you might find in there. There's a lot of times where a serial killer or a killer in general will say that voices. I'm not saying that that's in this case, but who knows what we'll find. So we're going to go down this true crime path with this. But we'll still do paranormal shows, of course.
Definitely. And just for you guys to have here, our call-in number, 913-730-7255. If you want to comment on this story or have questions about this story or shit, if you have information.
Yeah, you have a tip?
Let us know, guys. 913-730-7255. Again, my brain goes to, yeah, sure. Like, let's think about the victims for a moment, shall we? Well, I don't give a shit I don't care if you were a tramp, a hobo. I don't care if you're a prostitute, a sex worker. I don't care. You belong to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you belong to somebody. And I mean, how long have they been wondering? Like, how long have they? Oh, well, we haven't heard.
Well, if she said that it was around 8 and she's 50 now, so that would be 80s. No, 70s.
70s. Since the 70s. I mean, I as a father, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine that pain, that hurt. Like, I freak out when my kid is across the street at the park for 45 minutes. And I'm like, shit, like, she's been over there a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We used to stay outside all day. Be home by streetlights. You know what I mean? It's a different world, my friend. It is a different world that we live in nowadays.
God, we sound old.
Shut up. See, and that's just it. I'm 41 years old now. I can be a little crotchety every once in a while. Yeah.
You also, like you said, you need to watch what you say around your kid when you call me.
My God. What did I say even? What did I say?
You said, hey there, big sexy.
That's what it was. Okay.
And your kid was sitting next to you.
Kupzyk calls me and I'm like, hey there, big sexy. Because I always like to mess with Kupzyk. We know this, right? It's a fun little fact of the Ecto show. Mm-hmm. Hey there, big sexy. And my son, who will be 4 on Friday, like, he just goes, hey there, big sexy. Like that. I go, oh my God. Like, no. Never repeat anything that comes out of daddy's mouth, okay? Please. Like, do us all a favor. My God, man. Just crazy. That freaking kid, though. Kids are nuts. I love it. Oh goodness. What
Well, at
else we
least it's
got?
not an active serial killer that is still
No.
there that you have
Oh
to
my
worry
God.
about.
If that were the case, I promise you this, if that were the case, you would have two camps of people, okay? You would have the camps of people that would be literally sitting on top of their roofs with sniper rifles and any type of ammunition
Sure.
you could imagine, right? But then you would also have another camp of people. And these would be the people that would immediately just fucking leave. They would move. They would take off, gone. You would see the population of Fremont County just go to nothing.
I would guess that the majority of Fremont County is probably on the first half of that.
Listen. Listen. Yes, absolutely. The majority of people would just be like, I'm gonna bag me a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. Yes. Wow.
I don't know if we really need to talk about anything else. We've done 45 minutes and this is kind of
Yeah.
our opening to hopefully more to come with this, because we're going to follow it as it happens, and hopefully have some inside access to some things, some potential things if this does bear fruit. Like the first body that that's I think we need to wait for. Personally, we have to wait for the announcement of the first couple bodies found.
Well,
or it's just a story, like, because then
Yeah.
we're going, we kind of have to wait for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say that, I mean, yeah, I have ideas as well, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't start working on ideas and plan things and all this, but really, if the story is, if there's no bodies, the story doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Exactly. I would totally agree. Also, guys, go check out our Patreon page.
Yeah.
We'll give that a peek, shall we?
Right now, it doesn't have any tiers. It just has the $1 Meat Mate tier. Just sign up and support us. I'm sending out stickers. I did get a new job, so I'll be a little more stable with that.
Nice.
So I've just been running around lately. But yeah, we'll get back to Patreon when we feel we can do it justice. But
yeah,
it is still out there, and you might still get stuff in the mail. We might throw some stuff up there from time to time, but we don't want to promise you anything right now.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Yeah, all we have to do now is figure out what the frick's going on with Podbean, right?
Well, I know what's going on with Podbean.
Oh, do you?
Well, I mean,
my fault.
I'm not saying it's your fault.
Fault.
It's
what
just
did I do?
It just hasn't been paid.
Yes, it did.
That's what it says, that it hasn't.
I can show you the bank statement.
I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm saying I signed into Podbean, and it asked me for a credit card.
I'm gonna beat some butt. I'm gonna have to call somebody.
But if people are listening to this, then it's already fixed. So.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't even know why I'm bitching about it. So, yeah. All right, people. We will talk to you soon. Peace out. Thank you.